Good afternoon, everyone. Well done for making it through for this part of it, and thank you for staying. Just to quickly introduce myself, my name is Mark Cowgill. First off and foremost, I'm a Bradfordian. I was born in the city centre at St Luke's. My wife was born in Keighley. My son is a Bradfordian as well. I'm saying that because everything else that I do, I'm co-founder of exa, and I'm deputy chair of the Bradford-based, I'm vice president of Bradford Chamber, and I sit on lots of different boards. But ultimately, everything comes back to Bradfordian, because everything else that I do is because I'm in the city that I was born and that I love, and that I've got a vested interest in. So mine actually follows on very nicely from your presentation about why digital skills are critical to all employers. Because it's very easy to focus. I'm in the tech sector, I am a techie. I got into this industry because I was very interested in video games and internet. And internet won in terms of which one I ended up going into. But the reality is, every sector needs digital skills now. And that's really what I want to talk about. And what is it that employers mean by digital skills? Because there's this misconception, certainly at college level and at university, that when we talk about digital skills, it's much more in line with your presentation. It's much more about data. It's much more about AI and the other bits that I've just seen the end of. It's much more about my industry, about sort of bits and bytes and everything else. But when employers talk about that, that isn't what they mean. They want people to come out of college and university and out of school. I came straight out of school. I don't have a degree. In my industry, that's quite unusual. But it's never harmed me because I had an interest in the subject, I have a desire for it, and I love it. And therefore, I think you can learn just as much if you've got a real desire for something than just going through university. But employers mean that they want people to better come into a modern workplace. And that doesn't matter whether you're a tech company, whether you're hairdressers, whether you're a greengrocers, whether you're a petrol attendant. All of us use technology every single day. And when employers say they need digital skills, that's what they're talking about, being able to work in a workplace that's modern. There is this misconception that it is about coders, it's about network engineers, it's about big data analysts, and it is just tech companies that need digital skills. And that still is the belief in many schools. When you talk at primary schools, we're fortunate to work with thousands of schools throughout the UK, and when we have these conversations with them, they think when we're talking about digital skills, it is just people that want to go into tech, it's the programmers. And, well, we only have a couple of people who are interested in programming, and they go to our programming club on an evening after school. You're like, kind of missing the point of what we're talking about. Because the reality is now, unlike 20, 30 years ago, every single company and every one of you in this room uses technology every day. All of your businesses use technology in different levels across every single role. You look at finance departments, they're using things like Sage or Xero to pull everything through, quite complex programs. You're looking at sales, they're using CRM functions like Salesforce in order to manage pipelines. These are all data analysis tools, but they're used by non-technical people. And if you can't use them, it's very, very challenging. It's not about Outlook or Word. Again, when you talk to people about digital skills and what they need to do, they go, oh, yeah, well, we do a GCSE IT and we teach people how to use spreadsheets and how to use Word. Well, in all honesty, has that ever stopped you employing anyone that they don't know how to use Word? Probably not, and probably never would. But it is about the other stuff on here. We're moving to an age where we move out of internet, move out of telephony, as we've known it in this country for over 100 years, of everything going over copper phone lines, and analog into a digital environment where it's internet-based telephony, where you're using it on apps, where you're using things where you've got to have it at network level. You've got to do port openings and redirects and lots of other stuff that isn't just about picking up a phone and dialing the old rotary one like we used to do. Most businesses use some sort of instant messaging, whether it's Slack or something built into Teams or something else. Zoom and Teams, can anyone honestly tell me that they are not sick of using those systems over the last couple of years? Because I personally, I'm delighted to be out talking to people in reality today. But in school, we don't teach how to use it. Now you might think, well, Teams or Zoom is really easy. You go on and you press join and then you do this. Technically, that's what you do, but what you're actually doing is presenting. It's doing what I'm doing now on a smaller screen. We're all looking at a camera, or in most cases, looking down or working on your phone or making faces when someone speaks, forgetting that you're on camera. Or forgetting to switch mute off or putting it on, depending on what you're doing. And we don't talk about presenting in skills. When people talk about presenting, we think about that in an entertainment industry. We don't think about it that we all now do it. For the last 2 years, all of you have been presenters every single day. You probably haven't thought about it in that way, and certainly our schools haven't thought about it. Most children that are coming through school now can't type with 2 hands. It's just a fact, because they type with thumbs. Businesses haven't adapted to that because in the workplace, we don't use 2-thumb interfaces. We use keyboards. And so children are coming out of school with an inability to type with a keyboard. And so you're asking them to send a message on Slack or put something into a CRM system or send an email. And what would take you or I 30 seconds will take them 5 minutes because their productivity and their efficiency is simply not there. Email in context, when you look at how, it makes me sound really old this, but a lot of people speak in text speak. You are, you, for. When you're sending an email to a customer, if I ever saw any of my staff do that, I won't repeat what I'm doing on here because it's being filmed. But it's not professional. It doesn't give the right context to people. But yet they're not taught how to do it in a different way because that is how their technology has been learnt themselves. Lots of other things, ticketing systems that support or agencies use. CRM systems, I've just mentioned about Salesforce, but again, most companies use them. Tracking system, tills if you're working in a supermarket. Everything through to video and audio production. Social media is in use by virtually every company these days. But again, how someone coming through school is using social media and how you as a business are wanting to use social media is very different. We all know that as soon as you put something out there, it's there forever. You can press delete 30 seconds later, but if you've done something bad enough, someone's already screen grabbed it and it'll come back and bite you in the backside at some point in the future. And yet many businesses are putting people straight out of school or university straight in charge of their social media because they know more than the people in the business. Yet they've actually never been taught any real etiquette as to how to work in that place. You got project management systems like Jira and 1,000 other things. I've touched on just a few there. I could literally spend the next hour, and I won't, just talking about that. And the reality is everything that I've just said there is not on any curriculum. We have an Edwardian curriculum in the UK. It's good for what it was 100 years ago. There are still schools teaching Latin, and whilst I appreciate it has its place, does Latin have its place above anything that I've just said there? No, it doesn't. So what are we doing about it, and what would I like other people to do about it? The gentleman stood at the back looking down is Alan O'Donoghue, who works for me. And he heads up something called the exa.foundation. I'm not going to embarrass him too much on this bit, albeit he is on lots of these pictures, so that's just unfortunate. But we created something called the exa.foundation about 6 years ago. And we did it because as a business, we were already seeing, and this is before the upsurge in requirements around digital skills over the last 6 years, we were already struggling to employ because people were coming through either without the desire or the right abilities. And so we knew that we had to speak to people earlier because like anything, the earlier you get hold of someone, if you want to start learning French, it's earlier to learn French when you're at primary school than it is when you're in your 50s. Same around everything technology. If you start learning it young, it just becomes second nature. So we set up the exa.foundation to inspire, support and promote, ISP, the use of those skills. And the reality is over the past 5 years we've done, it says hundreds of events, but the reality is we've done thousands of them throughout the UK. We don't charge for any of them. We go into the schools, we speak with the students, we run classes so that the teachers can watch, in particular, people like Alan, run the class and learn how to make it more interactive. We even do classes with teachers in an evening so that they can learn more than their children, because right now their children know more than them. And when they're getting access to the internet, which is an amazing tool, also has a lot of dangers attached to it. So they need to be aware of at least somewhere close to the kids' understanding of it. And we've engaged with over 100,000 students and parents and teachers throughout the UK. And that's just short of 6 years. But the reality is, and Alan would tell you this if you spoke to him afterwards, that we sat down about 4 months ago and we said, well, what we've been doing for the foundation, when we started doing it was right, but now isn't. And so we're reinventing it now as we speak, for it to be relaunched on the 1st of May, so that it gives the skill and the support to the future that our future employees need. Not what we think they need, but what we've learned from other businesses, ourselves included, from speaking at these sort of events, from being part of all these other groups that I mentioned, where people are telling me this is really what we need help with. Because we started out, and really all we started about to start with was programming. Alan would go in there and we'd teach about how to get into basic programming. And then we started going into safeguarding and protecting people online and various other stuff. But the reality is we're having to go into it a lot more now. Beyond that, Tim Rogers, who's put this on today, co-created Tech Week with myself, because Tim and I had known each other for a while, and we sat down and we identified that we were doing some brilliant stuff in Bradford around things like Bradford Manufacturing Week, that I'm sure many of you have heard of, but we weren't touching anything in the digital side. And there is a real growing tech community in Bradford, where those businesses were just not being engaged in the right way. We started that 2 years ago, and so far, just in Bradford district, so not just the city centre, we've worked with over 15,000 students. And that's without any support from the council, it's without any external money. It's Tim, myself and a bunch of really nice people, Alan included, giving up a lot of time for nothing and engaging with these people. But it's been really successful, to the degree that Tim and myself and the Chamber of Commerce, who put on BMW, thought there's a big opportunity than just BMW and Tech Week. Why don't we create Skills Month? So this October in Bradford is Skills Month, which incorporates Tech Week, it incorporates Bradford Manufacturing Week, which is actually 2 weeks, not one. But it includes a biannual science fair at the festival. It includes this year a retro gaming part. It includes the Future Technology Centre and its Career Expo, which is a cross between what we've done today with some great panels and talks and businesses exhibiting what they're doing and the career opportunities that are there and the skills that people are going to need to do. And Bradford Council have now got involved because they went, this is pretty good. And so they're encouraging schools to make it part of the curriculum. What Tim and I have got to do, and everyone else that's involved in it, is make sure we encourage more businesses to get involved. Because ultimately, the people that we're engaging with are your future employees. The Science Festival has gone biannual now. If you've ever been to the Science Festival, it's fantastic. Held at the Science Museum, but they're part of the bigger Science Museum group. And Manchester and Bradford have agreed to do them in alternate years so that they can fully support each other. So it means each festival is going to be even bigger. There isn't one in 22, but we have got something special lined up during that week at the Science Museum. But in 23, and then hopefully 2025, when Bradford might have the City of Culture, we'll have an amazing science festival on. So it'd be fantastic for you all to get involved in that. There's other stuff that are going on. I touched on the FTC. Many of you probably haven't heard of it, but that's the Future Technology Centres. It's the colleges of Bradford, Keighley, Shipley, Bradford, and Bradford University, who've all got together to discuss what I've just been discussing now about how to improve the digital skills and ultimately their curriculum. Thanks, Tim. Digital makers. I've been involved in that since they started talking about that, and we fully support that and are engaged with that, along with Bradford Council and other people. We've now, as of last week, got mayoral support. Now, in the past, that didn't mean anything because it was just someone who wore a fancy chain every couple of years. Now the mayors actually have a lot of money and power. And Tracy Brabham, forget about politics, whether you agree or you don't agree, they control a big pot of money. And a huge chunk of that, depending what day of the month it is, anywhere between 20 million and 85 million, is set aside for the improvement of skills in West Yorkshire. And in, well, Leeds City region where we're covered under. So it's important to have them in. Tracy will be opening and involved in the Careers Expo. So it's good for her, It's really good for us because it will raise the publicity around that side. And Bradford is a city of opportunity. We've got the youngest population in the UK. It's been talked about a lot of times, 165,000 children under the age of 18, which is an amazing opportunity. It's also an amazing threat if we get it wrong. Because if we don't engage with those youngsters and we don't give them aspiration, two things are going to happen. Either we're going to have the biggest unemployment line in the UK, or, even worse potentially, they're going to migrate out of the city area. Because if we don't engage with them, somebody else is going to do. Because we've got a staff shortage in the UK and we've got a staff quality shortage. So if they are trained right, if they're inspired on it and we still don't engage, they're going to Leeds, they're going to Manchester, they're going down to London. And as we've found in the last couple of years, they'll work remotely. So it's important that all of us as businesses fully engage. Thank you.